All right, here we are after the deadline. I wanted to take a look at this. I've been meaning to take a look at this week, but of course, with the move and everything that's going on, it's been pretty busy. So I'm gonna take some time right now. Take a look at this, West and East, and I color coded them so that I don't forget which conference I'm talking about. Anyways, when you look at the races in the West and the East, there's races everywhere except one division at the top. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 63 games, 100 points. Don't need to say anything there. They're 17 points clear of the Bruins, who've played 63 games, have 83 points. The Leafs, 62 games played, they have 80 points. So this is the fight right here, and they're pretty clear of the Montreal Canadiens, who played 64 games and have 75 points. So they're 5 points back of Toronto. Toronto has 2 games in hand on Montreal. Boston has 1 game in hand on Montreal, and they're 8 points clear of Montreal. Now, in the Metro, the Islanders, 79 points in 62 games. Capitals also have 79 points. They've played 2 more games, so it's up to the Islanders to win those games in hand, or they could be handing things over to the Capitals. Carolina, don't forget them. 63 games played, 74 points. 5 points out of first place in the division, but only 1 point clear of missing the playoffs. That's how close things are in the East. So an incredible run by Carolina. They have 1 game in hand on Washington, 5 points back. And down here in the wild card spots, you've got Montreal with 75 points. A virtual tie between Pittsburgh and Carolina. Pittsburgh actually gets the second wild card with 74 points in 63 games. They need to finish ahead of Carolina in points, is what I'm saying. Outside the playoff positions, you've got Columbus, 73 points in 62 games. They are 1 point back of both Pittsburgh and Carolina. So there's nothing guaranteed here, and only 2 points back of Montreal. So Montreal's win over Detroit last night, very key win for them. Without it, they'd be sitting with 73 points. Philadelphia, thanks to that win over Buffalo last night, they're up to 67 points now, but they're 7 points out of the playoffs, and they have to bounce past both Columbus and one of the other teams in order to get in, as things stand. Buffalo, 63 games played as well. They're at 66 points. They're 8 points out of the playoffs now. Their playoff hopes and dreams are seemingly fading daily now. And they sit currently 1 point ahead of Florida, and Florida has a game in hand. If they fall behind Florida, they fall to 6th in their division. Just saying, because I was getting grilled a lot for predicting them to finish 7th. If they end up finishing 6th, that's pretty close. And a lot of people predicted them to finish 5th, so that way nobody's right. Anyhow, so that's your race in the East, and that's about as far down as I can go. I understand Florida, 62 games played, 65 points. Technically, if they win that game in hand, they're in this position instead of Buffalo, but I'll stop with Buffalo, because I don't think Buffalo's getting in either. In the West, Nashville leads that division, but they've played 66 games to get to those 79 points. Only 13 games above 500, which compared to last season, not great. But compared to the season when they went to the Stanley Cup Final, that's an excellent record. Glass half full, glass half empty, am I right? Now, the Jets are 1 point back. They've got 3 games in hand. They have to win some hockey games, however, for those to matter. 63 games played, 74 points. So that means they are 3 games in hand. They have 3 games in hand, I should say, on Nashville, and they're 5 points back. They are chipping away. They're 4 points back of the Winnipeg Jets. St. Louis, who would have thought they might end up finishing first? That'd be weird. We all knew that we were wrong about predicting them in third 20 games into the season, right? What if they end up being first? Going worst to first during the same season and from that late in the season, I don't know that I've ever seen that. Calgary, 63 games played, 87 points. They are far and away better than every team in the West right now. That may change in the playoffs. 64 games played for the San Jose Sharks, 82 points. They are 5 points behind, and Calgary has that game in hand. So odds are Calgary's going to end up winning that division. Vegas, 64 games, 71 points. The interesting thing being with Vegas, they're number 3 in the Pacific. They'd be out of the playoffs in the East. They would be behind Columbus, and they would not be in a playoff position. So that shows that things in the Pacific kind of have been cushy for Vegas, which may explain some of their recent record. Maybe they didn't feel the pressure to win certain games because they knew nobody was behind them. And you look at who's behind them, and yeah, they still don't have any pressure. The Minnesota Wild have 68 points in 64 games. They're the number 1 wild card. They're 6 points back now of St. Louis. The odds of Minnesota catching third place, very slim unless St. Louis or Winnipeg go into a major slide from here. Dallas, 67 points in 63 games. I've talked about this. This is a situation that I think is very perilous. They're now 7 points back of third place. They are 11 points back of second. They're 1 point behind Minnesota. They've got a game in hand. You have to win your games in hand. They're 1 point ahead of Colorado, who sit below the line. 63 games played, 66 points. They were only 2 points ahead of Arizona, 65 points in 63 games. 5 points ahead of Vancouver. So this is why when I talk about Vancouver, I say I can't see them making the playoffs. 19 games left, and you have to jump past Arizona, Colorado, and Dallas currently. And I don't know that you have some of these teams playing against each other down the stretch. There's going to be 3-point games. It gets really, really difficult to do the math here. So 62 points in 63 games for Vancouver. 61 points in 63 games for Chicago. So Chicago, as hot as they've been over their last 19 games, they've got to win a bunch to get in as well. So they've got to stay hot. They are behind 4 teams that they need to get past to get into the playoffs currently. Again, they've been playing better than these teams in front of them. But if Colorado manages to stay hot, if Arizona plays well, and if Minnesota keeps it up, I'm not even saying that Dallas has to play well or Vancouver has to play well. Neither. Just saying for Chicago to get in, they need some help. And they have to make sure they win some games in regulation when they're against some of these teams that are ahead of them. And I put the Oilers on the board because why not? 59 points in 63 games. I wore Oiler gear. They're not getting in. They're 8 points back. And again, you've got to jump all of these teams to get in. So I admire the optimism of some in the Oilers crowd. And in that Oilers locker room to say, yep. And I know they have to say that. It's admirable that they do. So there you go. There's the playoff picture currently. How angry are people in the East going to be when one or more team in the East misses that would have made it in the West? That's the question that I have on my mind, and which fan base is going to be the one that's raging because they don't make it and they would have made it in the West. Very interesting picture that's being drawn out there, and it'll be fun to watch what happens in the playoffs. If you want to look at playoff matchups that are pretty much set, Boston and Toronto is pretty much set. That's pretty much set in stone right now. I'd be very surprised if it didn't happen. Outside of that, Vegas and San Jose is a very likely one, with San Jose having home ice. There may be some revenge in store for the San Jose Sharks, but the question with San Jose becomes, can Martin Jones perform well enough in that 7-game series against Vegas for them to achieve what some might see as an actual upset due to what happened last year between these two teams. And of course, we all remember some of the controversies from that series. That could be a lot of fun. But yeah, so that's about it in terms of series that we can look at and say, yeah, those are going to happen. Outside of that, it is so wide open. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just tap upon this video. And no, this is not the room that's going to be the set in the new house. The room that's going to be the set is downstairs. I do not have access to that until the 1st. It is the 1st and beyond that you're going to start to see and hear how the channel's going to be. I've just got one studio light set up, for example, rather than both. I'm still using my ring light. I will use studio lights pretty much exclusively for this channel and the ring light for the other. So there you go. I will talk to you guys again soon. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're just browsing your way through. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks for all your support.